I live across the world from the rest of my family, about a 12-hour flight away. I see my parents too, 3 times per year. I gave birth 2 weeks ago, and my parents flew to help me with my 3-year-old and newborn postpartum. It's been really helpful, and they're supposed to stay 1 more week and then fly home. My son is obsessed with them, and he has the time of his life when my parents come to visit, twice a year. It's been great and so helpful. My sister-in-law is due in a month with her first. She has a strained relationship with her mum and is very close with my mum. My mum promised her she'd be there for the birth, figuring with 6 weeks between our due dates it would work out. We got the call today that my sister-in-law's water broke, and my mum immediately said, "I need to change my flight. I promised her I'd be there." I love my sister-in-law. We are very close, and I don't want to deprive her of the support she was relying on, especially with this sort of scary situation. But at the same time, I can't help it. I want my parents to stay until the end of their trip. My son is expecting them to be here for another week, and I'm only 2 weeks postpartum. I'm still healing, and also my mother's helper is only set to start working for me next week. My husband works very long hours, and I am nervous to take on my toddler's bedtime, plus a newborn without any help at this point. My parents live fairly close to my brother and sister-in-law, and will be able to be much more involved and helpful than they are with me since I live so far away. I really cherish when they're here, and I don't want them to cut their visit short. My sister-in-law will have their help whenever she needs it in general. I only get it for this short time. But also, this is my sister-in-law's first baby, and I truly want her to have the support she needs. I don't want to be selfish about this. My parents didn't even ask me my thoughts on it, so I don't know if it even makes sense for me to ask them not to change their flight. But would I be the idiot if I did ask? I think if I was honest with them, they would stay, which would leave my sister-in-law without their help for her first week postpartum. ETA. The doctors told my sister-in-law that the baby will need to stay in the NICU for a bit after birth, which my mum feels means that my sister-in-law needs her even more. Would love to hear from parents who've had babies in the NICU. Is it especially cruel if I deprive my sister-in-law of my parents' support while her baby is in the NICU? Mini update. Thanks for all of your input. I didn't say anything to my parents, but they decided that unless something goes wrong, they are only switching their flight back by 1 day. I saw a lot of comments that my sister-in-law SIL is 6 weeks early. She's not. She's 36 weeks. 37 weeks is considered full term. The doctors are optimistic that the baby will be totally healthy. It was a normal pregnancy, just will need NICU to be sure of things like sugar levels and oxygen levels before being released. If something is very wrong, my parents will get on the next flight available. And of course, there is no question about that. I didn't make it clear in my original post that nobody was calling this a horrible emergency scenario from the get-go. It's scary, but 36 weeks isn't a horrible scenario medically, and the doctors were reassuring from the beginning that they believe the baby will be totally healthy. The NICU is a precaution. If there is some problem down the line, my parents will get on the next plane. If all goes okay with the induction, they will leave a day earlier than planned, 5 days from now. I appreciate all the feedback. I'm obviously hormonal and emotional at the moment, and I posted here to get other perspectives. So thanks for sharing all of yours. I appreciate all the honesty. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. No idiots here. Your mum wants to support your sister-in-law, but you also want the support you thought you were getting. Is it possible to talk to your parents, rearrange your mum's flight so she's there for sister-in-law, but maybe have your dad stay for the next week? Comment 2. No idiots here. Your mother sounds like she's set on this. So regardless of how you ultimately feel about it, it'd be a good idea to see if that helper can start a week earlier. That or your husband burn some vacation days. Now for the update. So, after my last post, I decided not to ask my parents to stay. But before I could even tell them, my dad slipped while helping with the toddler and broke his wrist. It was a mess, emergency room and everything. He's okay now, but obviously, that meant he couldn't fly out to my sister-in-law, SIL. My mum was torn, but ultimately decided to stay to help both me and my dad. Now here's where it gets nuts. While my mum was trying to juggle everything, my sister-in-law went into labour and my brother was beside himself. He was trying to be in the NICU with the newborn and support my sister-in-law. So without telling anyone, my husband booked a flight and went to help them out for a few days. Honestly, I was a bit upset he left me alone with a newborn and a 3-year-old, but I also knew it was the right thing to do. And just when I thought things couldn't get more chaotic, the 3-year-old came down with the chicken pox. I mean, seriously? The doctor said it was a mild case, but you try telling that to a cranky toddler who doesn't understand why they're itchy. Meanwhile, my husband was a rock star with my sister-in-law and the baby. He managed to coordinate meal deliveries for them and even did a few night shifts in the NICU so my brother could rest. They're home now and the baby is doing great, all things considered. But wait, there's more. My mum was supposed to reschedule her flight to help my sister-in-law after my dad recovered, but they've both decided to stay longer. My dad can't really travel easily, and I think my mum feels needed here. I'm so grateful for that because these 2 weeks have tested me in ways I couldn't imagine. So to sum it up, Broken wrists, surprise flights, chickenpox, NICU shifts, and a whole lot of family love. It's been intense and I'm running on fumes, but we're getting through it. Thanks to everyone who sent advice and well wishes. It's definitely been a reminder of how unpredictable life can be and how important family is during tough times. Now for the comments. Comment 1, not the idiot. It takes a village to raise children, and your husband stepping up for his sister is part of that. You handled an intense situation at home like a champ. Your family's support network sounds strong and loving. It's admirable how everyone is pitching in during tough times. Comment 2. You're the idiot for not understanding the importance of your husband's presence for his sister. Childbirth can be a critical time, and your brother and sister-in-law needed him. It's a temporary situation, and you should be more understanding of the circumstances and the support your husband was providing. Comment 3. Not the idiot. You're juggling a newborn and a sick toddler, which is no easy feat. Your husband did what he had to do for his family, and you stepped up at home. It's all about teamwork in a family, and it sounds like you both are doing your best to support each other and your extended family. Now, for the next story. My wife has digestive struggles, and one of them is often being uncomfortably gassy. Before she gets into bed at night, she will do what I assume is some kind of light yoga to try to work it out. Oftentimes she will use a bench by a window because it helps her get into the right position. She has a wedge pillow as well. She says this helps her. As a gag gift, I got a fan and set it next to the bench in front of the window. My wife thought it was hysterical and kept it there. She has always been light-hearted about it. I'm trying to be at least a little proper in talking about this, but we do call it the fart bench between us. Well, my brother and his kids came over for Thanksgiving and he wanted one down for a nap. The kid really likes to look at the sky to sleep. I think the said kid is going to be a philosopher or artist. Anyway, my brother put him to bed on the bench. Later on, he came storming down all mad at me and told me that I could have warned him. I didn't know what he meant. He said my wife went into the bedroom and said, "Oh, nephew is sleeping on the fart bench." And they got into an argument about it. I told him that it's not like she passes window into the fabric. He said we were both immature and gross. I mean, yes, admittedly we are a little, but I think he's mad over nothing. Am I the idiot for not warning him what my wife uses the bench for before he let my nephew take a nap on it? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, not the idiot. I would tell him, if you're mad about the fart bench, wait until we tell you what we do on the bed. Comment 2, not the idiot. If there is a seat anywhere in your house you guys haven't farted on, then I'd say you're weird. Comment 3, not the idiot. There's no harm. The only one causing a stink is him, because he caught wind of it. Now, for the update. It's been almost a week since the whole fart bench debacle at Thanksgiving, and I never would have guessed where we'd end up from there. My wife's discomfort didn't just stay at the occasional bout of gas. It got worse, much worse. It turns out the light yoga she was doing was more of a coping mechanism than we realized. Soon after everyone left that day, she experienced severe abdominal pain, and I rushed her to the hospital. The diagnosis was like a punch in the gut. Advanced ovarian cancer. We were blindsided. All those little signs we thought were just quirks or minor issues were symptoms we'd missed. The doctors started her on chemo right away, but the prognosis isn't great. She's been in and out of the hospital ever since, and when she's home, she's often too weak to even make it to the bench by the window. That fight with my brother seems so trivial now. He's been supportive since he found out, but there's this unspoken tension. We're all trying to navigate this new reality, and it's like we're walking on eggshells around each other, avoiding the topic of the argument that seems so insignificant now. The bench sits there by the window, mostly unused. Sometimes when she has the strength, my wife sits there and we just look out at the sky, not even mentioning yoga or the nickname it used to have. It's just a bench now, a silent witness to the life we're desperately trying to hold on to. Now for the comments. Comment 1. Not the idiot. It's human to get caught up in small squabbles, especially with family. The important thing is that your brother is there for you now when it really counts. Life throws curveballs, and that bench is just a piece of life's tapestry. Don't beat yourself up over past fights. Focus on the support you have today. Comment 2. You're the idiot for letting a silly fight overshadow the real issues at hand. Your wife needs you to be strong, not dwelling on petty arguments. It's time to step up, be present, and let go of the insignificant stuff. Your brother's support is invaluable, and your energy is better spent appreciating that rather than regretting a meaningless spat. Comment 3. Not the idiot at all. Reflecting on past arguments is natural, especially when faced with mortality. It's not about the fight with your brother, it's about realizing what truly matters. That bench isn't just a reminder of struggle, but also of the moments of joy you've shared. Hold on to the good memories and let them fuel your hope during this tough time. Now, for the next story. I, 32-year-old female, have a brother, Charles. 38-year-old male who has a girlfriend, Claire, 35-year-old female. Claire has a daughter, Ruby, 8-year-old female, who has additional needs. This will be relevant. And I have a daughter, B, 4 years old. We are all, along with my and Charles's parents, going to be on a family holiday over Christmas. Claire was originally not bringing Ruby as she was meant to be staying with her father, but her dad is unreliable and cancelled, so Claire is now bringing her. For some context, Claire loves my daughter, which is great. She will volunteer to babysit her. I don't need babysitting as I'm a stay-at-home mum and my mother is nearby for emergencies, unprompted, and whenever we see her at events she always wants to play with Bee. Bee loves her and it's nice to see, but it is noticeable how she will spend a whole afternoon fussing over Bee, even when my husband and I are perfectly capable of looking after her. But again, she's great with Bee, so we don't mind. A couple of days ago, Claire and I were texting about what to pack for the trip as I was lending her some clothes. During this, I sent her a picture of what I was packing for Bee to give her some idea of what Ruby would need, and Claire said she was really looking forward to seeing Bee. She then suggested for a couple of days during the holiday we do a kid swap where we babysit each other's kids for the day. I was immediately not keen on this idea, as I have only met Ruby twice and I know nothing about her needs or how to properly look after her. Also, I come on holiday to spend time with my child, not farm her out to other people. I skirted around the issue, saying we could definitely do things together, but Claire kept pushing me to agree. She wanted her and Charles to take Bee for a day to go ice skating. This back and forth went on for a while before I finally said no. I'm not letting you borrow my child, you already have one. Claire said I was being unfair and that she deserves a break and to have an enjoyable holiday too. She then said she didn't want to borrow my clothes anymore and stopped texting me. Charles is now saying she's very hurt that I won't let her take Bee out and that Claire adores her. I said that's not the point. I'm not comfortable caring for Ruby on my own, and frankly I find it a bit odd that Claire's idea of a break from parenting involves babysitting. Charles says I'm massively over-dramatising and that babysitting Ruby for a few hours doesn't need a degree, and I should just help Claire out. Now I'm wondering if he's right. Am I the idiot? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not only are you not the jerk, but I would be very careful around the two of them and leaving them alone with your child at all. I'm not wanting to put horrid thoughts in your mind, but a lot of abusers and P3D0S start by being that close figure to the child. There is no reason she is obligated to have alone time with your child. Comment 2, not the idiot. They are your respective kids, not some tokens to be passed around. If Claire needs a break, she should call it what she needs, and that is a babysitter. Now, for the update. After my initial refusal to participate in Claire's kid swap, tensions simmered beneath the surface until we all finally embarked on our Christmas getaway. 3 days into the trip, after a frosty but civil standoff, Claire approached me with a tearful apology. She confessed that her suggestion was out of desperation. She's been feeling overwhelmed and was hoping for a day to recharge without the responsibilities of caring for Ruby. Hearing her out, I felt a pang of guilt for not recognising her struggle sooner. We hugged it out, and I offered to spend a day with Ruby, with Claire guiding me on her needs. It was an eye-opening experience, and Ruby was an absolute delight. But the drama didn't stop there. During our kid swap day, while I was with Ruby at a nearby park, Bee, under Claire's care, had a small accident. She tripped and broke her wrist. Panic ensued. Claire was beside herself with guilt, even though these things can happen to any child at any time. Rushing to the hospital, our holiday spirit evaporated into a whirlwind of doctors and casts. The silver lining in this unfortunate event, it brought our family closer together. Charles stepped up to support both Claire and me, and our bond as a family strengthened as we rallied around Bee's recovery. It was a Christmas to remember, not for the festive cheer, but for the dramatic twists and turns that reminded us of the importance of empathy and support in family dynamics. Bee is doing fine now, sporting her cast like a badge of honour, and Ruby and I have developed a special bond. As for Claire, she's seeking additional support to manage her stress and responsibilities, and our relationship has healed, stronger than before. Family drama aside, this holiday season taught us all a valuable lesson in compassion, understanding, and the unexpected ways life can reinforce the bonds we share. Now, for the comments. Comment 1. Not the idiot. You're not obligated to swap kids like they're trading cards. Plus, it sounds like you stepped up when Claire needed you. Accidents happen, and it's great that you all came together for Bee's recovery. Your family ended up stronger, and that's what counts. Comment 2. You're the idiot for initially refusing to help your sister. Families should support each other, and it seems like you only realised the value of that after Bee's accident. It's a shame it took that to bring you all together. Comment 3. Not the idiot at all. You weren't comfortable with the kid swap, and that's your right. Good on you for recognising Claire's stress and helping out with Ruby. And it's not like you could have predicted Bee's accident. It's heartwarming to hear how the incident brought your family closer. Now, for the next story. I'm being called heartless by my daughter's mother because I refused to cover the medical cost for our 12-year-old daughter. Here's the situation. Back when I was 19 and in college, starting my startup company and needing extra money, I donated my sperm. I got paid well, and it went to a woman who wanted to have a surrogate. She hired a college student named Molly and wanted to use her eggs and my sperm, since both she and her husband were infertile. Long story short, something happened, and the couple wanted to abort the baby, but Molly refused. They went to court and Molly kept the baby, not the money. I was already long gone by then and forgot I even had a biological daughter till I got a phone call from Molly yesterday. To sum it all up, my biological daughter was recently diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. The doctor gave her a list of things that she now needs to survive, like a blood glucose meter, test strips, lancets, insulin syringes or pen needles, and a continuous glucose monitoring CGM system. Without insurance, all these items cost over $1,000. And Molly doesn't have insurance. And she doesn't have anything to her name since she dropped out of college for a baby she couldn't afford. Before I could call anyone a liar, Molly sent me plenty of proof of medical papers for her daughter and the associated costs. However, I told her no and reminded her that she fought in court to keep her, and in no way am I paying a thing. But I'm guessing she didn't like my laughing tone because she began shouting. She began railing on how the first thing I say is no when I find out that my daughter, whom I've never met, needs medical care. But I repeated my answer and told her I wasn't arguing about something I'd already decided on. But that's when she threatened to sue me for child support, shouting how I haven't paid anything in 12 years and she's going to drain me dry, calling me a greedy, selfish person who could easily afford to pay for her daughter's medical bills without me even noticing if any money left my account. She even dared to say that all the money I have rightfully belongs to our daughter since I used the donor money to help my startup, which is now very successful. But I immediately hung up and blocked her. I didn't feel like being continually threatened and screamed at for a child that isn't my responsibility. I'm about to have a child of my own with my wife and don't need this kind of stress. So am I the jerk, AITA? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. We'd all like to know how Molly knows your details, please. Because if you were a donor in the true sense of the word, that should be confidential. Comment 2. Nobody would have been this utterly clueless about surrogacy in 2011. Now for the update. 2 days after I blocked Molly, I get a knock on my door. It's a process server. I've been officially served with paperwork for child support. My stomach dropped. I thought the previous agreement we had was ironclad, but here we are. I immediately call my lawyer and we start preparing for court. In the midst of all this, I get a message on social media from someone claiming to be Molly's friend. They tell me Molly has been in a car accident. Part of me doesn't believe it, suspecting it's a ploy to get sympathy before the court date, but a quick search confirms it's true. She's in the hospital stable, but with a long recovery ahead. The daughter Emma is staying with Molly's sister. And then out of nowhere, Emma's sister contacts me. She's different from Molly, more understanding of the original agreement, but clearly overwhelmed. She has Emma, 2 kids of her own, and now Molly's situation to deal with. We meet in person to talk. Seeing Emma face to face for the first time rattles me. She's evidently my kid, even if I never planned on being a father. Her aunt lays it out. Molly's insurance will cover her medical bills, but Emma's diabetes supplies are a different story. She's not looking for me to take over financially or as a parent, just asking if there's anything I can do to help. I'm torn. My lawyer's saying one thing, my gut is saying another. The court date looms, Molly's in the hospital, and here's this little girl who's part of me, whether I planned for it or not, struggling with a lifelong condition. I decide to set up a trust fund specifically for Emma's medical expenses. It's my way of helping without stepping into a parental role, and it satisfies the aunt's request. My lawyer thinks it could also help my case, showing I'm not heartless, just sticking to the agreement Molly and I made. We go to court. It's a mess of legal arguments, the past dredged up, and a lot of emotion. In the end, the judge upholds the previous agreement, no child support, citing the trust fund as a reasonable compromise. But they also give me a stern talking to about the responsibilities of bringing a life into this world, even if it's through donation. Molly's still recovering, and I've decided to keep some communication lines open with Emma's aunt, just for updates on Emma's condition and to make sure the trust is being used as intended. So that's where it stands. No child support, but a trust for Emma. Some loose ties with her family now, which I never expected. And a whole lot of thinking about what it means to have a biological kid out there in the world. It's been a roller coaster, but I think somehow we've found a way forward that's going to work. Now for the comments. Comment 1. Not the idiot. You've done more than enough by setting up a trust fund for Emma's medical expenses. It's not your fault that Molly blocked you and then got into an accident. You're making sure Emma is taken care of financially, which is more than some parents do, and you're respecting the court's decision. Seems like you're trying to be responsible in a complicated situation. Comment 2. You're the idiot, blocking Molly and then being surprised by child support papers. Come on, you can't just block out your responsibilities. Yeah, you set up a trust fund, which is great, but part of being a biological parent is being there emotionally too, not just throwing money at the problem. You should be more involved in Emma's life, not just rely on her aunt to communicate. Comment 3. Not the idiot at all. You're doing the best you can with what you've been handed. Molly made her bed by blocking you, and you're still stepping up financially with that trust fund for Emma. Plus, you're respecting the legal process and keeping in touch with Emma's family. You're navigating a tough situation with grace and accountability. Hats off to you. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.